Black Label Society is back with a brand new album, Engines of Demolition. The question is this 400 horsepower of pure fury? Or like a little four-cylinder without a gas? Find out next. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to another episode of the Metal Dude Abides. Tonight, we are going to take a look at the brand new Black Label Society album, Engines of Demolition. But before we get into the album, how did we get here? A little history, because this history goes all the way back to the 1980s. You see, Ozzy Osbourne was fired from Black Sabbath. He starts a solo band and recruits a guitarist by the name of Randy Rhoads. Well, after two sensational albums, Randy Rhoads is unfortunately killed in a tragic plane accident. So Ozzy does this wide sweeping search and brings in Zakk Wylde, who also makes two albums with Ozzy. And while they were commercially successful, I would say they are the two of the weakest albums in the Ozzy catalog. I was really kind of, let's just say, not for me. At this point, Zakk Wylde departs the band, and Ozzy once again is left without a guitarist. Enter an unknown guitarist by the name of Zakk Wylde. They, Ozzy and Zakk, put out two of the best Ozzy albums of all time, No Rest for the Wicked and the very commercially successful No More Tears. Well, unfortunately for young Zakk Wylde, Ozzy decides it's time to hang it up. So Zakk Wylde is left without a band. After a couple of solo albums, Zakk decides to form a band called Black Label Society, the band we're reviewing today. But at the same point, Ozzy decides he's not going to retire and comes back onto the scene, and he still needs a guitarist. So he plugs in and says, "Hey, Zakk, you want to be on this album? You want to go on this tour?" And of course, Zakk Wylde, this is Ozzy Osbourne we're talking about, says, of course, yes. Also, Zakk Wylde really finds that he's got a real knack for these big, bold riffs and starts his own Sabbath cover band by the name of Zakk Sabbath. So all of a sudden, Zakk Wylde went from having no gigs to having 3 gigs, and he becomes one of the busiest guys around. Well, fast forward to today, we're going to be talking about the Black Label Society, and it's kind of hard to believe that Black Label Society has been around for 28 years, and this is going to be their 12th studio album, their first in like 5 years. So it's been a day or two since we've heard from Black Label Society. Let's see if they still got the knack, or whether there's a little bit of rust on the old engine. All right, if you had any doubts about the whole rust issue, Black Label Society starts off with the song Name in Blood. It starts off with this nice little crisp, bluesy intro, very reminiscent of the old Kiss song Domino, if you're familiar with that song. But here's where that riff starts off light, kind of crisp, and then it just starts building, and you just feel the energy starting to power up on this bad boy. And then just breaks into this molten lava, hot, big, distorted riff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best song on the album, and spoiler alert, it is going to be, I guarantee it, is going to be a contender for one of the best songs of 2026. So, right off the bat, if you do nothing else, you can ignore this review completely, but do yourself at least this favor. Go listen to this opening track, Name in Blood, one of the best songs of the year. The second song of the album is called Gatherer of Souls. Now, you can't be with someone for decades and not become influenced by them, to have their type of style of music rub off on you. Clearly so. I mean, we just got through talking about the fact that Zakk has a Sabbath cover band. But what's really weird about this is I think Ozzy has one of the most unique voices in all of heavy metal. If Ozzy gets on there and starts singing, instantly you know it's Ozzy. And yet there's times, even though Zakk's voice is not really similar to Ozzy's, much more deeper, much more raspy, there's times where he sings something and I'm just like, well, that's just like vintage Ozzy. Kind of a weird moment, but there's a part in the song where he's singing All Right Now. And it just brings me back to, Black Sabbath circa Master of Reality. And the way Ozzy would always go, all right now. That was kind of one of his phrases that he would use in several different songs. I think I'm thinking about Sweet Leaf. I'd have to go back and listen to some of those old live recordings. But it's kind of funny how dissimilar voices, but similar mannerisms and styles. Zakk makes me think about Ozzy even when he's singing. And oh, by the way, this song also has a sick guitar solo about 2 minutes in. One thing you'll know about me, I really like Zakk's riffs. I really like his solos. I think Zakk Wylde, one of the most underrated guitarists in all of metaldom. Check out this solo. It really puts some intensity into this song. Right off the bat, Zakk is 2 for 2. The third song on this album is called The Hand of Tomorrow's Grave. And once again, this is a big, doomy, heavy Sabbath kind of song. Again, you can really tell who has influenced Zakk's career up to this point. Now, the thing about this song is the first track had that amazing riff. This song has an okay riff. The second song had an amazing guitar solo. And this song has an okay guitar solo. So this is kind of a okay song, not quite as good as the first two. But make no mistake, these are 3 very good songs in a row. I just feel like with this song just a little bit, Zakk is starting to drift a little bit. We're starting to lose a little bit of focus here. We kind of need a palate cleanse to kind of get us back on track. Right on cue. We asked for a change of pace. We asked for a little bit of a palate cleanse, and we're going to get one here. The 4th song, Better Days and Wiser Times. First of all, it starts off with an acoustic intro. So that right off the bat kind of sets it apart. But then it kind of breaks into another aspect of Black Label Society that we haven't really talked about. You see, yes, Black Label Society is a heavy, doomy, Sabbathy kind of group. But there's also a bit of the band has a bit of that southern rock roots to it. And this song really leans in to that southern rock aspect of it. The beginning of the song is kind of like maybe like a Guns N' Roses version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, maybe not all the way back to the Bob Dylan version, where it's got some kind of almost choral vocals and intro. Kind of meets a little bit of some heavier Lynyrd Skynyrd, and of course has the big Sabbath boomy riffs. That's where Black Label Society really is a unique band. They're not just a doom metal band. They've got a lot of different aspects you're going to see in the next few songs. One of those is southern rock. And let me just say, surprisingly, doom metal and southern rock are like peanut butter and jelly. They go great together. This song is excellent. We're still rolling 4 for 4. After a brief departure from that last song, we're back to Black Label Society big, meaty riffs. The song Broken and Blind is probably the best song on the album since the opener. And it's right back to that big, crunchy doom metal. It also has an excellent guitar solo about 2.5 minutes in. But there's a other part of this band that we haven't really touched on. You've got the big doomy metal. You've got kind of that southern rock. But you also have, pardon me, but a little bit of that grunge movement that was big in the 90s. There's a little bit of a Soundgarden feel to this particular song. Now, I don't like to constantly compare bands to other bands, but it's kind of hard to describe. If someone walked up to you and said, what's Black Label Society all about? Well, they're a doom metal band, but that doesn't really quite do it. And yeah, they've got some southern rock to them, but that still doesn't quite do it. But there's also this kind of grunge feel to them, particularly the heavy grunge, the really good grunge, Soundgarden, a little bit of Alice in Chains going there, that also envelops their music. So this song now takes, the previous song had a little bit of that southern rock feel. This kind of has heavy riffs, but a little bit of that grunge feel. I dig this song. Like I said, I think this is the best song on the album since the opener. If you've been following this channel for a long time, you'll know that every year I do the best albums of the year and the best songs of the year. Well, rewind back to 2024, Black Label Society put out a song called The Gallows. Loved that song. As a matter of fact, if you go back to our 2024 best of list, it ends up at number 7 for the entire year. Really, once again, more that straightforward, doomy Sabbath-style metal. Well, at that point, kept expecting an album, it never showed up. Well, lo and behold, here, track number 5, are we at now? The Gallows. It's finally made it onto an album. So, the first track, one of the best songs of 2026. The Gallows, one of the best songs of 2024. This, once again, if you want to just check out a few songs on this album, do a little sampler platter, do the opener, and then come right here to The Gallows. The 2 best songs on the album by far. After 2 excellent songs in a row, once again, Black Label Society feels like we might need a change of pace here, and once again, we're going to get one, with the song Above and Below. Now, you might say, well, why is this a change of pace? Well, yes, it is yet another big, crunchy, doomy, Black Sabbath-y kind of song, except it has these very light interludes in the chorus that really bring out and accentuate the big crunchy riffs, accentuate the big guitar solos on this album. It is really a very good deep track on the album, and right here I think we've hit my favorite stretch of the album. These 3 songs in a row are all excellent, a little bit different in their style, a little bit different in their pacing, but all have that solid, heavy riffage and solos that make Zakk Wylde special. When I decided to review this album, the first thing I really look at is how many tracks are we talking about. And when I saw that there was 13 tracks, it kind of took me back a little bit. I'm kind of been in a mode where I've been listening to a lot of progressive metal, where you get like 5 or 6 songs. They're all 8-9 minutes apiece, big, long, epic songs. The pacing on this album is a little bit jarring. This is like, again, we're on song 8. A lot of the songs on this album are under 4 minutes, so they're hitting you left and right. And once again, they're changing up the pace with a kind of a southern rock style crooner by the name of Back to Me. I would say this is the first ballad on the album, and again, it really incorporates a lot of that southern rock style, including the way the guitar is done on this song. It is excellent, but it's not that big, heavy, distorted riff. Very much the type of guitar work you'd have got in the late 70s and early 80s. So again, great guitar, but very different type of guitar playing here by Zakk Wylde, really showing off his versatility. It's not exactly my style of music, but because Zakk does such great work on the guitar, I think this is another deep track that's worth a listen. I'm not going to lie, the next track cracked me up. Coming in at number 9, Lord Humongous. One of the greatest cinematic villains of all time. If you're not familiar with the old Mel Gibson Road Warrior trilogy, Lord Humongous shows up in the second movie, The Road Warrior, and he is quite the villain. He has this hockey mask. He's wearing like this weird leather S&M bondage kind of harness, and he's clearly been severely burned through radiation. He has kind of loose strands of hair, etc. Big muscular guy. And he gets on the microphone and he basically tells these people, give up all your oil or I'm going to kill each and every one of you. Pretty interesting. I loved those old Mad Max movies, and The Road Warrior was definitely my favorite of the three. But I digress. This is a big metal thumper. You can tell Zakk Wylde's having great fun with this one. A great follow-up. Again, the last song was a little bit slower, again, moodier, a little bit of a southern rock ballad. This one just comes in and resets everything beautifully. All right, the next song on here is called Pedal to the Floor. And here, Black Label Society is going to swerve us again in a different direction. Because now they're going to bring back those kind of grungy elements to the forefront. Now, one thing I will say about grunge metal, I liked it. But it had a problem. That's why it didn't last very long. It could be a little bit shallow, a little bit thin, if you will. And the reason being is then it could kind of come off as a little bit of complaint rock, a little bit whiny, a little bit too slow, and not enough meat on the bone. Well, Zakk really solves that problem in two ways. Number one, he brings in those big meaty riffs to give it that depth. And then he has this very nice, based on all that southern rock we were talking about, he has that good blues bass to kind of base the whole song on. So it really falls into a much more lively version of grunge. So once again, you take the big crunchy riffs, you bring in that bluesy southern rock, and you add a little bit of element and grunge, and you've got yourself quite a formula. Pedal to the Floor, my favorite deep track on this album so far. If you're familiar with my album reviews, you'll know that I will tell you my favorite tracks on every album, but I also tell you my least favorite track on every album. And here is my least favorite track on the album, a song called Broken Places. The reason it's my least favorite track, pretty simple. While Black Label Society has done a great job of mixing up their styles, we've had the big, doomy, riffy songs. We've had kind of the Southern-style rockers, Southern-style ballads. We've even had a little bit of some grunge-tinged rock. The one thing that we haven't done much of is a change of pace. And here, we need to pick up the pace and have a real banger. I love a good, fast song. It's one of the problems I have with doom metal, sludgy metal, that sort of metal, is that you just sometimes just need something to tap your foot to and really get going with. Here, Broken Places is yet another slow, sludgy song. And while I think it's a fine song, I need a little something more. Let's see what Zakk's got for me next. Holy cow, it's like he's reading my mind or something. The next track on the album is a song called The Stranger, and lo and behold, Zakk picks up the pace right here and puts on a real banger. This is some of the best guitar work on the entire album. It's fast, it gets you moving. After a few slow songs in a row, this was really needed. I think that this is the best deep track on the album by far. I love this song. Go out of your way to hear The Stranger. Well, it's a good thing we got that banger out of the way, because we're going to end on a ballad. We're going to end on a slow song, and for once, I'm going to actually agree. Because if you've watched this video before, I've been kind of mocking the heavy metal community for always seemingly end on a slow, somber song. But in this case, it is absolutely the best way to end the album, because we're going to end the album on a song called Ozzy's Song. This is a tribute to his fallen mentor and friend, Ozzy Osbourne. And if you've been under a rock, you would know that unfortunately last summer, Ozzy passed suddenly after doing that big farewell concert over in England. Like a week later, Ozzy was gone. Very tragic. And we spent the last, 6, 8, 9 months since that's happened really paying tribute to him. This here, Zakk's going to pay tribute to him here. And this is one of those times where I'm not going to sit here and tell you about this song musically, because that's not what this song's about. I think this is a beautiful goodbye because it really gets across Zakk's love and admiration for Ozzy Osbourne, while at the same point, and I think this is important, acknowledging the chaos that surrounded and engulfed Ozzy's life. Because see, love isn't exclusive to people who are perfect. Love isn't exclusive to people that have their acts together. Listen, Ozzy had a lot of issues, but he was deeply loved by his family. He was deeply loved by colleagues, and he was deeply loved by fans. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. I think this is a beautiful tribute and the perfect way to end this album. Let's go on to the recap. So after a 5-year hiatus, what do I think about Black Label Society's big comeback, Engines of Demolition? Overall, I think it's a very good album. If you really like doom metal, I think this is a must listen. And even if you don't really like doom metal, there's a few tracks on here that are well worth your time. I love, can't say it enough, the opener, Name in Blood. What an absolute instant classic. Right in the middle of the album, you have a couple of really good songs. Broken and Blind, very good. The Gallows, of course, I must have liked this one. It was one of my top songs way back in 2024. Above and Beyond, also very good. A couple of deep tracks to keep in mind, Pedal to the Floor and The Stranger. The Stranger really starts to cook, really starts to sizzle. And I have to admit, I was touched by the closer, Ozzy song. A really heartfelt tribute to Ozzy Osbourne. You know, Zakk Wylde, there's no way to separate Zakk from Ozzy. They've been together for so long. Really nice to see him do a tribute to Ozzy here. So again, I think this is worth listening to, even if you're not a total doom metal fan, even if in the past you haven't really liked Black Label Society. I think this is their best album in many years, and I think that it is going to maybe sneak into the conversation for one of the best albums of 2026. And that's our program. Boy, we've had some really great albums to start 2026 with. But you know what we need to do? We need to get back into our Fixing the Grammy series. We're going to go through the early 90s and talk about the best albums, songs, and performers of the 90s. So you want to be alerted to all this great content. So right now, it would do me a solid to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, give this video a thumbs up, ring the bell, all the things that the YouTube algorithm likes. Help me get my content out to more people. In the meantime, this is the Metal Dude signing off. Take care.